Hey everyone, and welcome back to Organically Fit and another video. So today I'm going to talk about inflammation and your health. So when most of us think about inflammation, we think about acute inflammation, something that happens when we sprain our ankle or get a cut or scrape, and we have redness, we have swelling, we have pain. But I'm not talking about acute inflammation, I'm talking about chronic inflammation, which is something that is at the core of most of our diseases here in this society. So chronic inflammation is that acute inflammatory process that I just talked about, but an ongoing situation that's happening in your body. And chronic inflammation can look like many different things for many different people. Anything from type 2 diabetes to high blood pressure to metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, or even things like Alzheimer's and dementia, some cancers. We even have irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease. The list goes on and on and on. So having chronic inflammation today is basically killing us. So where does this chronic inflammation come from? It comes from the way that we are living our life today. There are several things that influence the fact of whether our body goes through inflammation or has inflammation or not. And they're all things that are modifiable, meaning that we can control them. So the first thing is exercise, whether we get exercise or not, too much exercise, whether we get enough sleep, and how well the sleep quality is that we get. Our diet and the choices that we make with the foods that we eat. And also stress. Are we managing our stress in our life, which this society tends to have a lot of stress, but not a really good handle on how to manage that stress. So inflammation happens when certain things in our life or our diet trigger the release of chemicals in our body called pro-inflammatory cytokines. These pro-inflammatory cytokines are part of our immune system, and they cause a cascade of inflammation. So when those cytokines are elevated for long periods of time, then we end up with chronic inflammation. So this chronic inflammatory process can look like different things to different people. We can have skin rashes and psoriasis or eczema. We can also have elevated blood sugar and metabolic syndrome or dementia. So some of the same things that I mentioned before, things like cardiovascular disease, like atherosclerosis. So today are some of the things that we can do to decrease the inflammation that is going on in our bodies and possibly reverse your disease process or symptoms that are happening in our body just by paying attention to what we're doing and what we're inviting into our life. So the first thing is exercise. And exercise can really decrease inflammation. If you're not getting enough exercise, then start exercising. Exercising has been shown to regulate blood sugar and to regulate blood pressure and to also increase our HDL, which is our good cholesterol. And HDL also helps with our antioxidant capacity. So exercise is really good. Too much exercise can also be very detrimental and stressful on our bodies. So when we are exercising many times a week, like 5, 6, 7 times a week, and we're exercising for hours at a time, that causes stress and thereby causing inflammation on our body. So too much exercise on one hand can cause stress. No exercise or too little exercise can also cause stress. So we have to find a happy medium and a place where it's going to benefit our body the most. So the second thing is sleep. So many of us don't get enough sleep. We don't sleep enough, or our sleep is very poor. So we really need to focus on going to bed earlier and having a good sleep ritual, whether it's meditation or some music, making sure our rooms are nice and cool and has a low temperature, around 70 degrees, seems to work really well to induce sleep and get us into a good sleep cycle. A dark room is another thing that's going to help us with sleeping and the quality of our sleep. So not getting enough sleep definitely contributes to that inflammatory process that we talked about. So we need to work on ways to get better sleep, get better quality of sleep, and going to bed at a regular time and sleeping for at least 7 to 9 hours, depending on what your body needs. Eating a couple of hours before bedtime, drinking alcohol or drinking caffeine a few hours before bedtime has also been shown to impede the quality of our sleep. So those might be some modifications that you can make to help you get a better quality of sleep. So another thing that contributes to inflammation is our diet. So our diet has, I think, the biggest it can make one of the biggest impacts in the changes in our health. We are a society of fast food, processed food. We want it quick, we want it fast, and unfortunately our health suffers from it. Those refined carbohydrates and processed sugars and flours are stored as fat. We tend to take in too much of those, so our body uses the sugar that it needs for energy, and the rest is stored as fat in the form of triglycerides. This all contributes to the inflammation. And some of the things you may not even be aware of. Some things are super obvious, like your cakes and pastries and donuts and things like that, all of your sweets. But there's other things that you may be even making at home, like pastas and white rice, and making your own breads at home, and using refined flours for pancakes and waffles and things like that. Those are all refined flours, and your body will convert those to sugar, and we tend to eat those things in excess anyway. So that's all converted to sugar and then converted to fat, and then contributing to inflammation. But you may be thinking that you don't have time to cook or plan meals at home because of your schedule, and we're all so busy and going all the time. But I'm here to tell you that you can definitely throw together some really good meals in less than 30 minutes. We just have to change our mindset, and we have to change our expectations of ourselves, and be kind to ourselves, and know that we are worth it. So we are worth making that effort to make a healthier meal. So a meal can consist of a good source of protein, a good piece of steak or chicken or something like that. And if you are vegetarian, then a good vegetarian protein source, and some vegetables or a salad. So keep in mind that at least 3/4 of our plate should be vegetables and salad and greens and just wholesome whole foods like that, full of fiber and full of nutrients. And then a small portion should be our protein. So if we look at our plates in that way, you can see how simple it can be to put together a meal that's nourishing, that's quick, that is satiating, and keeps us full. If you have eaten your fair share of fast foods, you may notice that you get hungry quicker because they're full of sugar and processed carbohydrates, which our body tends to burn through a lot quicker, so we end up eating more. So the idea is to actually make a good meal full of fiber that's going to keep us full, with our vegetables and maybe some fruit, some salad, and that fiber is going to help keep us full, keep our blood sugar regulated so we're not having these ups and downs of our blood sugar, and also help keep our microbiome happy. So all of our healthy gut bugs we keep them happy by giving them fiber for food so that they can help us to feel better, help us digest our food better, help us to boost our immune system, and a ton of other things that our microbiome does for us. That's for a totally different video. So we won't get too much into that, but just know that you are definitely helping your health in more ways than one by eating more fiber. And then you have your protein, which we need protein. We need protein for our hormones, to make our muscle, to do muscle repair. And our protein has a good amount of healthy fats in it that we also need for hormones and to help with our immune system. So we have the basics of a good foundation of a meal. So you can see that our meals do not have to consist of breads and pastas and all of those empty calories that aren't really providing a whole lot of nourishment for us. And when you get those things down pat, then you start adding in your healthy fats like your coconut oil and your olive oil, and then throw in some great spices and some herbs. Spices and herbs are great for our immune system. They add flavor, they boost our antioxidant capacity. They're full of so many nutrients, and I think that we underestimate herbs and spices a great deal. So those are great things to add into your meals to make them a little bit more exciting. And then sitting down with your family to a meal a few times a week. If you can't do it every day, then pick certain days of the week that you can do it. And that practice will help you to digest food better and to eat healthier meals, to connect with your family, and also decreases stress. So those are all like super good things that you can add to the quality of your life. So the last thing I wanted to mention about inflammation was stress and managing stress. So we all have stress, and it's how we manage the stress and what kind of stress it is and how long we're under the stress. So our bodies were made to be under stress, but not under stress all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And stress is another major factor that causes inflammation in our body. So we need to figure out some ways to decrease the stress and to manage the stress that we do have so that we can better our health. Acute stress, such as things like trying to make a deadline for work or preparing for a speech or even running to catch a bus, those are acute stress, and those things are okay. They come and then they are short-lived and they go. The stress that is killing us is the chronic stress, the ongoing stress. Most of us have too many obligations and too many things on our plate, so to speak, and we are inundated with responsibility and constantly trying to keep up with other people, other society, or our kids, or work. We may have like a super stressful job. So those are the things that we need to manage, and we either need to consider taking away some of our responsibilities and our obligations, not saying yes all the time. It's okay to say no sometimes, and sometimes saying yes too much are the things that get us into trouble, and then we're obligated. We also need to practice some stress management activity like exercise. Not too much exercise, but exercise has been shown to decrease stress along with the other things that I mentioned before. And there's also things like yoga and meditation. Now, before you turn off the video, and don't roll your eyes, but those things have been proven that they help to alleviate stress. They decrease blood sugar and regulate your blood sugar and decrease your blood pressure and make your health overall. They give you mental clarity. So meditation and yoga are serious considerations that you might want to think about exploring. And I will leave a couple of links down below in the description box so that you can try out short meditation or one of my favorite online yoga practices. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time, but even short periods of meditation and yoga have been shown to really have positive impacts on our health overall. So guys, you may have noticed that all of the things that I mentioned, exercise, stress management, diet, and sleep, are 4 things that we have absolute control over. So if we have absolute control over these things that are major causes of our chronic inflammation, then these are things that are modifiable, and we can, not just in theory, but in real life, can reverse our health problems and decrease and eliminate some of those symptoms that are causing all of these health problems. So as individuals, we really need to take into consideration which one of these life aspects are contributing the most to our health problems. And that's the thing that we should probably focus in on first. Don't try to take on everything all at one time. We have to change our mindset and our beliefs about all of these things and about our health and how much control we actually have over our life and over our health. And after we change our mindset and change our thoughts, we have to be willing to make those changes. Now, change is hard, don't get me wrong. It is hard, but guys, so is living with chronic disease and chronic illness and symptoms that negatively impact your life every day. So considering making some small changes every day in your life that's going to make your health better, that to me is definitely worth even trying to change. So don't try to make all of these changes at one time. Go step by step and make it it has to be a process. We are creatures of habit, and everything that we do in our daily life, from going to sleep and getting up and our routine through the day, is a habit. And those habits were formed over many years. So it's going to take time to change those habits. And what we have to do is to be consistent with our changes. So it's said that it takes at least 21 days of consistent practice to develop a habit. So if there's a habit, one of the things that I've mentioned, if there's something that you want to change in your life, you need to make it a point to implement it into your day, somewhere in your day, and do it consistently for at least 21 days. And by that time, it should be a little easier to make those changes and to have it become a great part of your life. And once you make that first change and have it become habit, then it will be a little bit easier to make another change and then another change. And before you know it, you are defining your whole life in a more positive way. So I hope that you are walking away from this video inspired and empowered to take back your health and to be in charge of your life. So guys, take some of these things into consideration and figure out how you can make some of these changes in your life. So guys, that is it for this video. If you enjoy the content, then definitely hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So until next time, I will see you on the next video. Take great care.